The last class of, cruiser? Okay. Commissioned by the U.S. during World War II, was the 2 units of the Alaska class. Between April 1933 and January 1936, Germany commissioned the 3 armored ships of the Deutschland class. With Japan not signing the Second London Treaty, and instead signing the Tripartite Treaty in September 1940, the U.S. began getting concerned that Japan would build similar pocket battleships. The U.S.'s response was a class of 6 29,700-ton large cruisers. To give them a decisive edge in battle with any enemy heavy cruiser they might encounter, they were given battleship-sized guns, albeit light for the time. Crew complement was on the scale of a battleship. From a design point of view, they were enlarged Baltimores, with an armor pattern and subdivision scheme that resembled a heavy cruiser rather than a battleship. To allow them to catch enemy cruisers, they had the speed of a cruiser, which was measurably faster than most battleships of the time. To address the elephant in the room, many consider these ships to be battle cruisers rather than heavy cruisers. There are legitimate arguments both ways. The argument mostly hinges on whether you consider battle cruisers to be lightly armored battleships or heavily armed cruisers. Either way, the Navy considered them cruisers and placed them in a cruiser division. In the end, they arrived long after aircraft had become the dominant force, and few enemy cruisers survived for them to hunt. Only the first 2 actually completed, with the other 4 being cancelled while in various levels of construction. The 2 that did actually get completed had very short lives. This was partly due to the changing nature of war at sea, but mostly due to the fact these ships were nearly as expensive to operate as a full-blown battleship and weren't nearly as capable. Alaska was started December 17, 1941, and finished June 17, 1944. Guam was started February 2, 1942, and finished September 17, 1944. Hawaii was started. Construction was stopped February 17, 1947, when the ship was 82% done. Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Samoa were all canceled June 24, 1943, before construction even started. Main armament was 9 12-inch 50 caliber guns and 3 triple turrets, 2 forward and 1 aft. These guns were of an all-new design. Like all heavy guns by this point, they were able to raise and lower independently of each other in a turret. Rate of fire was up to 3 rounds per minute per gun. They fired a super heavy 1,140-pound shell that was nearly the weight of a World War I 13.5-inch gun shell. In keeping with their cruiser heritage, secondary armament was 12 5-inch 38 caliber dual-purpose guns in 6 twin turrets, 1 over turret 2, 1 over turret 3. The remaining 4 turrets were midship with 2 on either side. Entering the war so late and having such a short life, they needed no major update to their light and medium anti-aircraft or radar. Like most cruisers and above, they could carry 4 float planes, 1 on each of the 2 catapults and 2 in the hangar. Apparently, just to be different, these ships moved their aircraft back to the midship, like pre-war cruisers, rather than having them at the stern like all other post-Brooklyn-class large ships. Side armor was up to 9 inches thick. Deck armor was up to 4 inches thick. Turret armor was up to 12 1/8 inches. Barbette armor was up to 13 inches thick. Despite this, and in keeping with their cruiser origins, subdivision and other measures to contain flooding weren't as comprehensive as a full battleship. Propulsion was very similar to the Essex-class carrier. 8 boilers generated 150,000 horsepower to 4 shafts, driving the ships up to 33 knots. These were arranged on the unit principle of putting an engine room between the rear quartet of boilers. Unusually for ships of their size, they had only 1 rudder, giving them a larger than desired churning radius. Alaska joined the Pacific Fleet in mid-December 1944. She spent the rest of the war escorting the carriers and providing fire support. She was reduced to inactive service status August 13, 1946, spending more time under construction than in service. Guam joined the Pacific Fleet in early February 1945, escorting carriers and providing fire support, usually with her sister ship. She was reduced to inactive status August 13, 1946, like her sister, spending even more time under construction than in service.